Another You. Author. Rasha Ross. Start. Chapter 1. The Voice in the Corridor. One can always tell, remarked the blind girl in the university corridor, tilting her head with an air of certainty that belied her sightless eyes. Precisely which department a person belongs to by the mere sound of their voice. Do speak to me, won't you? How curious. Yours is neither distinctly masculine nor feminine. Are you still there? Quote. But Miss Winter Sloan had already swept past, her footsteps echoing with purpose down the marble hallway. She had no time for idle conversation, however intriguing. The university library awaited, and with it, the answer to a question that had kept her awake these 3 nights past. The library housed a collection of archives quite unparalleled in its rarity and completeness. Miss Sloan required access to one particular item, a piece of evidence, as she thought of it, though evidence of precisely what, she could not yet say. The difficulty lay in the fact that the university, in its infinite bureaucratic wisdom, had classified these materials as restricted to all but a select few. Strangers, they called everyone else. She had presented herself at the archive desk no fewer than 4 times that week. Each time, the mechanical DNA scanner had rejected her credentials with the same cold, implacable refusal. Miss Sloan, came a familiar voice from behind the desk. What brings you here again? Quote. It was Madam Kate, a woman with whom Miss Sloan had shared many a collegiate discussion in years gone by. The older woman's eyes held a knowing expression as she leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper that somehow managed to convey both urgency and reassurance. I understand your purpose, she said, her gestures oddly at variance with her calm tone, almost theatrical in their intensity. The archive is yours for the next hour. But do take care, my dear. Great care indeed. Chapter 2. The Archive Room. The archive room itself was a marvel of organization. Every newspaper clipping, every document, had been catalogued with meticulous precision, sorted by subject, then by date, each bearing its timestamp like a passport stamp from the past. Miss Sloan approached the retrieval pod and spoke her requirements clearly, watching as the mechanism hummed to life. A metal box emerged and glided along its track toward a distant station. When Miss Sloan reached it, she found her requested materials arranged in a miniature library of their own. The better to facilitate her research, she worked quickly, selecting the documents most relevant to her inquiry. You may retain the copies, announced a disembodied voice from a speaker overhead, startling her from her concentration. The originals shall remain with us. Naturally, Miss Sloan spread the papers before her and produced her diary, that faithful companion of her investigations. Certain postal codes caught her attention. She transcribed them with care, for these were no ordinary numbers. They were, she had come to believe, coordinates, keys to unlock the geographic location of the very person whose existence had led her down this peculiar path. She fed the numbers into the library's scanner. The result was extraordinary. The screen bloomed with a map, zooming through layers of geography until it settled upon herself, or rather, someone remarkably like herself. The system indicated a distance of 4.5 light-years, precisely the span between Earth and the city whose name flickered at the edge of the display. It was as though she stood before a mirror that reflected not her present self, but another version entirely, one existing impossibly far away, yet impossibly near. Chapter 3. The Revelation. Miss Sloan felt the ground shift beneath her understanding. She had sought merely to establish some connection between her suspect and this city. Instead, she had discovered that she herself was not where, or perhaps what, she had always believed. The archive had been restricted to her for this very reason. She now understood. They had known. Madam Kate had known. And now an intercontinental panel, or was it interplanetary, had been convened to investigate the matter. As she made her way back through the corridor, the blind girl lifted her head as though she had been waiting. "We have identified you," the girl said, her voice carrying the weight of official pronouncement. In place of a name, there was only silence, a blank space where identity should have resided. "Our conclusion is recorded. You may depart now, Miss Sloan, though we shall meet again. I think your investigation into the suspect was, in truth, an investigation into yourself. The map you sought to unmask was your own." Miss Sloan paused, one hand upon the doorframe. "And the masquerade?" she asked quietly. The blind girl smiled. "That, Miss Sloan, is the question you were always meant to answer. And